Hey everyone, this is Mystic Fish, and welcome to episode 12 of our Factorio Sushi Spectacular. And first off, I want to thank everybody for the likes and encouraging comments on these videos. I'm glad you are enjoying them. I'm having a lot of fun figuring all of this stuff out as we go. And I really appreciate that some folks are even pointing some errors out or things we might have overlooked. So, for example, we had one commenter that said, hey, this is great. When we calculate the amount of solid fuel that we want for power, and then, okay, we can calculate all the barrels of fluids and empty barrels and things like that. But when we come down here, we're looking for solid fuel being generated for smelting, but we're not doing the same thing. Now, I think this is not a big problem in the short term because, we're not using the full 18 megawatts of solid fuel we're asking for up here. So there is plenty left over for smelting, but I get it. Like, we should fix that for correctness sake. And I'm really kind of enjoying the calculations that go into doing that. And I hope you're able to follow along with the circuit network stuff that we are doing. So I just want to acknowledge that. I wanted to just reflect a little bit, actually, as we look at this wonderfully mixed sushi belt running around, that the overall scheme here seems to be working. When we are looking at the way that we're calculating demand as a fraction of the belts, we're able to update belts, number of belts as we add them. We've got these demand and buffering things that are going on that smooth things out as they proceed around the belt. And we have actually, knock on wood, been able to proceed pretty far without actually clogging the belt. This is like one of the big issues that you run into with sushi belts, is that it's very possible for them to get completely full of stuff where there's no room for inserters to put stuff back on the belt. And I do think by reserving a little spare capacity and just not planning to put it on, I think that's helping us. But overall, this whole system is pretty adaptive and seems to be working out pretty well for us. So I just want to say, wow, I'm actually surprised this stuff is working out as well as it is. So that's kind of exciting. I haven't seen somebody do the sushi belt exactly this way, so hopefully you find that interesting. Now, let's see. One of the things that I think we need to work on and worry about here will be, if we take a look at what we've got about 100K iron ore here. All right. And that's going to be running out over time. So I think what I want to do is I want to get productivity modules into here, but we are going to, I think, need to figure out a way to do an iron expansion or an iron outpost, because we are going to run out here. Now, we don't need very many miners to keep up with what we've got. If we take a look here, although it looks like we are a little behind here in terms of the amount of iron ore we want, which is 1.8K on the red there, and the amount of iron ore that we're getting on, which is 53. So we should just make sure that we're actively mining stuff. And I see we're running into, these inserters are all active, but they're having trouble finding places to put things on the belt. And I think that's just because we're in a particularly packed version of the belt here, section of the belt, right? There's a lot more room over here. So I think that will be okay over time. Hopefully we'll be able to catch that up. We also, remember, have a very big backlog of coal, right? 1.1K there on the green signal against the 128 we actually need. So the belt is a little fuller than we actually expect it to be once it hits steady state. So Hopefully that will rebalance itself over time. I'm going to come back and fix the calculations for smelting up here. But the other thing that I was realizing is, and we can see a good example of this going on here, right? Here's a bunch of red science going by on the belt and green science going by on the belt. And what that means is, and the labs are not picking it up. And part of the issue is all that stuff will have to go all the way around the belt again and be picked up by the labs before these factories will release more of them out of their output buffers. So I'm realizing we actually need to build output buffers for the labs here, and do this, or sorry, input buffers for the labs here. So very similar to what we're doing here, setting a demand that's based on, hey, let's make sure we have enough science to run a lab full time for a full circuit around the sushi belt. And basically, I think that'll help our labs run a little more continuously. It'll save us some time. Okay, so there's just a few things that we need to fix up here. I think I will do a bunch of those things off camera. And then when we come back, we can talk a little bit about iron outposting and what that is going to look like and when we're going to enable it and how we're going to do it. I think the main thing that we need to do for right now is to make sure we have enough red belts to go do that if we want to. So taking a look at the map, this would appear to be the closest iron ore. That's pretty big. I guess this one's not too far away. This one's bigger. So I'm a little inclined to go after this one, especially because we have more forests around here. And so to the degree we generate pollution out of here, I think we want to keep our pollution contained from our outposts like we have with the oil up here. Trying to keep that pretty small. We'll probably actually end up using efficiency modules in the miners out here. Just we got a big patch, so I don't think we have to be as worried about running out of stuff. But I really don't want to go do that because, look, this is a sushi belt. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to run this belt all the way out to the outpost. All right, we're probably going to grab this belt here. We're going to run all the way out to the outpost, sneak around through the miners like we're doing on these ore patches here, and then bring the belt all the way back. And so that's going to be a pretty big jump in the full length of the sushi belt. And what that means is that's going to increase our latency. Remember, we have this latency calculation over here for the round trip, which means that when we increase the latency, it means that, suddenly all of these input buffers get that much bigger. And so we're going to just have to spend a bunch of time rebuffering everything and filling all the buffers. And so it's just, I think we don't want to take that break until we have to. At least for right now, we are able to, we still have a little bit of room here. So I think until we start having to turn off miners here because they've run out of resources and we don't have a new place to put them, I think we don't really need the iron outposts until we get to that point. So we may set it up, but hold off on actually turning it on until we get to that point. So at any rate, I'm going to do a couple of fixes. I think the main thing is I'm going to come over here and make sure that we are stacking up enough red belts to go build that expansion. So we can just do that here like so. Make sure we get 2,000. That should be enough to get out to that iron patch and back. And let's see. I may rearrange this a little bit and build out a little bit more mall stuff just because looking at it, these could be inputs to the tier 2 and 3 modules, which means, you know, if we have a little row of mall here, these probably want to be down here. And the other thing that'll be interesting to look at, we're not making stack inserters yet. And I think that's okay. I think that's okay, because I don't really think, if we take a look at things, like a bunch of our stuff is not actually even running full time. So, I don't think we have anything that's necessarily sort of input or output limited at this point where we would need a stack inserter, but we may consider doing that in the future as we go. So it's just something to watch on. I don't think we'll build it yet because they're pretty resource intensive. Lots of green circuits, lots of gears. If we feed them in here, especially to make the stack filter inserters, which might replace these regular inserters here, we may hold off on building that stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead. I think I'm gonna probably just leave these as they are for right now. I will put input buffers on the labs. I will fix the calculation of the oil stuff and solid fuel stuff for the smelting and fix that. And I'll put productivity modules in the remaining miners. And otherwise, we're really just going to chew through the blue science that we need to finish producing stuff. I don't know that we need substations. I'm going to just skip it. The only reason to get uranium, I like the idea of sticking with solid fuel. I guess we could go to rocket fuel or nuclear fuel for the boilers. That would be wild. And that would be a little more Sushi Belt compatible than uranium processing. So I think we skip uranium processing unless and until we actually want to do something with uranium. But otherwise, I think we want to be unlocking the purple science, like we said before. And so that's going to require advanced material processing. I think we skip lab speed initially, and we get purple science unlocked. And then we do need, we should really do all of the blue research. Well, I guess we don't need to. Maybe we'll just do that. Maybe we'll just do enough to unlock the purple research, and then we'll see where that gets us. Because if that lets us get to, say blue belts quickly before we have to hit the iron outpost, that would actually be a big win. So maybe we'll just do this. We'll let this stuff run in the background. And we'll see where we get after that cleanup. And so I will be back after all of that. Okay, we are back. Let's go over the couple of things that I changed in the meantime. So I did come down here and added input buffers to all of the labs, so we can see that each one of these is stockpiling some of the science packs, which means they can run continuously and moreover sort of survive for a loop around, which means we should be able to get more sort of continuous throughput on the science. So that's good stuff. Let's come up here. I did end up adding some more boilers here. Two more boilers, 4 more steam engines. And that meant that I was able to just come over here. Let's see, we're here in the brain section. I was able to just come up here and change megawatts to 22, and everything recomputed itself. Which, man, that's just so cool. Okay, and then as a final fix, if you remember, we talked about the fact that we put solid fuel in for smelting, but we didn't have anything that was producing it. So what I did was I did something very similar to what I did over here. So I pulled just the solid fuel that's currently being used for the science, And so in this case, if you remember, I have the black science disconnected, and so I just have blue and red and green. This has 5 solid fuel, this has 11, and so this is seeing 16 if you look at the output signal. From here, we do the same ratio sort of thing to get all of those computed. An interesting thing here is due to the integer arithmetic, if you look here, once we're dividing by the 90 to make the ratio, we actually end up with 0 heavy oil barrels. So you can see there's on the input there, it's 80, but 80 divided by 90 is 0 with integer arithmetic. And so in order to address that, I just put a, hey, let's get just at least one of each of these barrels in here. So that, which occurs to me that I also need to put in on this side, I think. Yes. I also need to do this so that there's a, no, that didn't work right. Can I do this with a red one? Yes. Okay, that looks better. And so we have this way, there's a minimum, at least 1 oil barrel coming in. And so then we then plug, or actually the solid fuel is already on here. So we take the barrels, both the filled ones and the empty ones from these 2 computations. And then we route them back down into this pole on both the red and the green wires, which successfully updates them out on the demand. So that is how we correctly manage the smelting. I did put productivity modules into these miners up here. We can see we are rapidly running out of spaces here on our iron patch. So we may find we have to do an iron outpost sooner rather than later. But we still have a couple, so let's see how long we can go here. I got productivity modules into the copper as well, and all of those updates have happened. And then finally, we have researched the purple science. So from here, I think what we want to do, because we know we're going to have to get that iron outpost sooner rather than later, I think I actually want to build purple science and make blue belts. So let me go do a little bit of design for the purple science, and then we will be back. Hey there, we are back. A few updates here. So I started to plot out what we were going to need for purple science, and I realized that this was going to not work the way I wanted it to, because it was just going to get confusing. So I had this additional calculation over here. I took that out. And instead what I did was I just went to the factory planner, and for example, I just said, oh, well, let's just do the calculations on the cracking that produced the petroleum gas I need. So I really just, I directly calculated that stuff here to put them in here. And so those will go directly in. I did make I did lay these out for purple, but I haven't connected them yet. So the other thing that I was thinking about is, well, I'll explain why in a minute. So, all right. So the other thing I was like, wait a minute. Even though I know I said earlier, like, hey, this thing is not clogging. This is totally clogging. Like, take a look at this inserter here. This inserter says waiting for space and destination. It is holding an iron plate and it has nowhere to put it. So I was like, what's going on there? So I tapped into our signals and did some calculations. So the first thing I did was I took the green wire into here and I set this to just say, hey, just add everything up and tell me S. And so S comes out to be 11K, which if we come down here to what our capacity is, it's also 11K. So we have filled the entire belt with stuff. So I was like, okay, that must mean that we have too much of something somewhere, because that is not how we have designed this thing. So the next thing I did was, okay, let's put the red and green wires in here. I used a decider combinator, and so I said, tell me everything where our supply is currently greater than our demand, or in other words, that if I add the red and green wires together, it's more than 0. And so if we take a look at the output, okay, yeah, there's a couple of signals. And so 2 things here. One, you can see we have too much stone bricks, stone furnaces, grenades, red ammo, things like that. So basically all of the black stuff. So we did have black science on here before, and basically once we disconnected it, there's nothing that draws that stuff down. So, okay, so there's a small amount of this on here, but the big thing is, wait a minute, and the overages on the output signals, wait a minute, I have like 1,000 too many barrels of petroleum gas and 2,200 too many barrels of light oil. It's like, oh, well, that's what's clogging everything up. So I started looking at where am I putting those things onto the belt, and I came over here and it was like, oh no. So these, I fixed it now, but these inserters off of the advanced oil processing on the outside were set to mode of operation none, which means they were just continually loading stuff up. So that fixed that, at least temporarily. And so this will fix itself, I think, over time, because eventually, you know, the power will burn off solid fuel. Solid fuel will then consume the light oil and the petroleum gas. But I think we want to do something a little fancier here. And so I'm going to do this. And let's get 2 filter inserters. We are going to need power. And we're going to want to put both the red and green in here. Okay, and then what I want to say here is, I'm not going to set the filters, but I'm going to say, okay, for light oil, I do need to read the hand contents, actually. This is not what I want. Actually, this is not what I want to do. That's kind of what I want to do. Okay, but I think I have to be smarter about it. So, okay. Oops. Okay, first things first. Does this have what I want? Nope. All right, that wasn't it. I need one of these guys. My -1 guy. Okay. So first, I'm gonna say, when you pick stuff up, tell me about it, and then we'll subtract it. So when you pull stuff off, we'll do that. So that means you need to read hand contents. and read hand contacts. Then I think we will set filters and set filters. And here I think what we actually want decider combinators, I think. We haven't really used a lot of these. I am short on iron for this. Okay. Wow, I'm also short on copper. I guess I should get a couple of things. Copper. Okay. But 2 is all I need right now. And so, nope, that's not right. Where'd those decider guys go? Okay. I need the red and green wires into here. Like so. And so what I want to say is, if light oil is greater than 0, output light oil. So it should say, do I have too much? And if so, then make that guy pick up light oil. And in fact, I may reduce this and say, if I have more than 10 excess, and so then here, I want, if I have more than 10 excess petroleum barrels, output, 1. And then I can set the filters here. Okay, and then I can grab the extra one, I can start grabbing extra ones off here. Then what I can do is I can have this side. Oops, I'm out of fast inserters. Let's go get some. All right, while that is declogging the belt, and hopefully we see the counts there decreasing on the green one. We can't see it yet because it's still working. Unfortunately, barrels take a lot of space, so we'll have to see how many we can get out of here in this way. What was I coming to get? Fast inserters. All right, let's grab those. There we go. So we'll just build like a little temporary buffer here. And what we will say is we just get the red and green wires into here. We're going to read hand contents. We're going to read hand contents. You're going to be enabled if petroleum gas. We need more petroleum gas. Why did you get light ones? That's weird. Oh, it came in that way. I guess that's okay. I can separate these out. Turn this one. Put it back. All right, now they won't confuse each other. And you will be, if we have not enough light oil, so then I can put these here. And so this will be a temporary buffer. So this should pull things out over time. At least some of these. That should alleviate some of the congestion. Yeah, okay, so we can see the petroleum gas is now rapidly counting down, so that's good. Light oil barrels on the green wire are now down to 2,000. Okay, so this will help us. It should help us get some of this out. Wow, this is gonna fill up. All right, I'm gonna debate whether I want to do anything else about it. Okay. But anyway, just getting back to this. So looking at the overages, remember we said some of the stuff that's on here is leftover stuff from Black Science. So I think I actually don't want to, even though I would like to get to the blue belts that Purple Science would enable, I think I don't actually want to do any Purple Science until I'm actually done researching all of the Blue Science. And so I think we're going to go pick off a bunch of the Blue Science stuff that we're going to need. So, and I was actually thinking robotics-wise, I might build a personal Roboport. One of these guys, because I think that I think it'd be even though I don't want sort of Roboport based bots, I think a personal Roboport that could be helpful. So I might go ahead and get that because I can run that on solar power and it won't chew up too much space here. So okay, what are the other things we need here? Power armor, sure. Power armor, research speed, sure. What else do we got? I guess we'll get yellow science. Okay. So I think we're gonna chew through as much blue science as we can. I'm gonna keep an eye on this and see if this helps us out here. Wow, that's full, man. That's still going. All right, I may end up doing a bigger loop of this up here if I have to. So anyway, stay tuned. I think we're gonna let this run and see if we can get a little further through the. Because we're all stopped up here with the extra stuff, we're not really doing much research. So I think we have to let this run for a while and continue declogging stuff. So that we can get back to resourcing stuff. So I'm gonna let this run for a while. I may set up some more of this stuff up here just to get the rest of it off the belt. I guess I can calculate how much of this I need. How much do I have sitting in here? 480, so that's like around 500. How much do I have overage? So I could get like 4 steel chests of light oil and 1 steel chest of petroleum gas extra. So I may set up another one of these buffers just to help us declog faster and see if that helps out. Otherwise, I think the other thing that will happen is I may be back if we are starting to run low on the iron ore and we may get to an outpost. So let's just see how things proceed. If we have to move 2 more iron ore miners, I think that would probably cause us to get the outpost at that point, even if it meant we have to do the extra latency. But let's see where we get to, and we will be back. Hey there, we are back. One of the other things that I noticed was, you know what, this belt looks awful full to me, and I was noticing that there was tons of copper ore on it, and I came down here and noticed that this power pole here was just a ghost, which meant that the control wires were not on this inserter, which meant this thing had been running continuously and we had way too much copper ore on as a result. So what I did was I turned all of these inserters off. I put filter inserters in a bunch of steel chests and pulled all of the copper ore off. Then I came up here and did the reset the count trick up here. Finished doing that, and now I am in the process of, we are now repopulating. Actually, it's been repopulated at this point. We have the right amount of copper ore on there now. And I'm basically just feeding out of these boxes back in at the same rate with these. The other update is we just ran into our first iron ore miner that we cannot replace and move somewhere else. So we do need these in there. However, I still think we can eke out not getting an expansion yet. I really want to avoid that so we don't crank up the latency. If we come down here to look at our rates, I need a rate of 199 iron ore per minute. 199 per minute divided by 60 gives me per second times 2 gives me like seven miners. So I still have more than that. So I think I have enough to keep up with our current science production. And in fact, once I got a bunch of and you can see, oh yeah, down here, there's a lot more empty space in some of these sections of the belt. So we're doing a lot better now. We're back to producing science down here and down here. So we are back to moving. I think how are we doing on our research agenda? What other things do we want here? It looks like, well, you know what? We'll just finish this out and then we'll come back and we'll see where we're at. So stay tuned. We're going to continue pushing through the blue science here. We'll see how far we can get without doing an iron outpost. I'm pretty sure if we come over here just to check, and here we can probably check in here. In the map view, come over and peek in the mall. How much of this do we have? We have 2,000 red belts, which will be enough to get over to here if we need to the outpost. So I'm not worried. We can kind of put the outpost on last minute if we want to. So I guess that's it. We're just stay tuned. We're going to chew through this stuff and we'll be back if anything changes. Okay, we are back and we have finished, I think, chewing through all of the blue research we want to do. I'm not going to get nuclear power. Like I said, I want to stick to this sushi belt method of power generation. So I do think we want to get some of the blue and black tier stuff. Because we may want to get to like poison capsules and damage upgrades, stronger explosives. That'll be helpful with the grenades. What else do we want to get here? How about a tank? Yeah. All right, so I think we're going to do that stuff. What else all right, we've queued that up. That's going to need to wait till we get some black science in there, which we will do in a second. I did set up a small build for explosives so that we could get cliff explosives. That was one thing I did. I forgot to mention also that when I updated the recipes here, right, for blue and black and so on, and I did the matrix thing, I took out the basic oil processing stuff that we had over here just because the advanced oil stuff that we have up in the other corner is more efficient and can keep up. So I decided to go with that. I did lay out an iron outpost here with belts. I do not have this turned on yet. But this is ready to go when we're ready to turn this on. I'm hoping we can at least get through the black science before we run out of iron here. I should mention we're at 37K. I think this is at our current rates of consumption. There's going to be another run for another hour before we run out. So I want to hold off on turning that on until we have to. Let's see. I did add a little hay for our own use buffer of red circuit stone here, so that is good. And I think what I need to do here is basically just turn on the black science again here. Let's check our demands out here. And now we have the walls and black science and stuff that's in there. Our rate of that stuff, we're down to 8 science per minute at that level. We probably won't be able to improve that until we get to belts. And I kind of, here's another issue that we maybe have is, and maybe one of the things that I'm worried about is we have this backlog of light oil and petroleum gas. Remember that we overproduced, and we've got, oh, okay, we got rid of the petroleum gas buffer here, so that's helpful. And we've gotten rid of some of the light oil up here, but we still have some light oil to get rid of here. One of the things that I'm worried about is as long as I have those built in, I'm worried about this backing itself up. Maybe it's okay. They obviously seem to still be running here. But if we're going to make lubricant, we do need to make sure that we have enough enough heavy oil in here. Maybe it ends up being okay because we are consuming the light oil and petroleum gas. So I don't know. Maybe that would be okay. All right, we have lost one more iron miner. We still have enough to continue, so that's okay. And I think what I'm going to do is I think we will chew through this set of science here. And then we will see how close we are to running out of iron, and we'll be back. All right, we are back. We didn't quite get all the way through the black research we wanted to do, but we did get to the point where we've only got 8 miners left over here. So I think we have to turn on the iron expansion and just eat that extra belt latency. So let's do it. I think we need to turn that, and that should do it. And then we need to connect these guys here. So we get the signals across. Guess we'll get the counts first. Then we'll get the demand. And let's see if that actually turned things on down here. It seems to have. Oh, none of the inserters are turned right. We gotta run out there. Duh. All right. Ooh. Not looking forward to what the latency is going to be when we recalculate it, but we're out of iron, so what are we going to do? Okay, we need to rotate you like that, and like that, and like that, and like that. I decided to do efficiency modules out here because we have really no lack of iron out here. And that'll just help a little bit with pollution spread, hopefully. We may have to watch this guy here. But let's run back into the base here. Running on the belt going in our direction seems like a good idea. Oh, this is a long belt. That's okay. Had to be done. I did also add a little more power. While we were gone. And let's see, what did I want to do? Oh, we got to readjust the belts. All right, here's our belt. Map. Blueprint. This. How many belts is that? 2.6K. 2,600. All right, that gets everybody a lot more excited. And what does that result in a new latency of 693? That's over 10 minutes. 693 divided by 60 is 11 minutes, 11 and a half minutes. Woo, it's a long round trip. But all right, we're gonna trust in our math here. Let's see, how are we doing on iron ore now? Did we fill up on our iron ore? We did, finally. Okay, so all those things caught up. And we got a nice little glut of iron ore coming through here, but there's some more stuff mixed in over here. How long does that glut of iron ore last? It gets mixed in here over... All right, it's mixing things in a little bit over here. So, all right, that should spread out over time. We are going to, and of course, because the latencies are up, that means that all of these buffers are much bigger than they used to be. Yeah, 2,000 iron buffered up for here. So it is going to take a while for us to refill all of these buffers. But that is clearly going to be a problem for future Mystic Fish. As we wait for all this stuff to catch up and rebalance and all that kind of stuff, we are still doing science, so that's good. We will finish up the black science. We'll let this stuff rebalance itself out, hopefully. And I think it's time to think about purple science next. So that will be another problem for future Mystic Fish. But we'll leave that till then. So as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And until then, bye.